Hello everyone, welcome back to Backlot Banter. I'm Tanner Dykstra, and I am here today to review a little film called Novocaine. This is a new film that I was lucky enough to see at a mystery screening, so I'm getting out an early review here for our channel. Of course, but before I get into that review, I'd like to invite you, as I often do on this channel, to join our Discord server, number one. That link is down in the description there. You can talk about movies and video games and comics and cooking and music and exercise. We really run the gamut of topics in there, and if you are coming to this for our movie reviews, we are more than happy to talk about movies with you in that Discord server, so go ahead and join that up. I also want to invite you, of course, to like this video, comment down below your thoughts on Novocaine. If you also saw it early, I know they're also doing some early screenings across the country this weekend, so if you have seen Novocaine either in an early screening or upon its release, go ahead and let me know what you think, because I will get into my thoughts right about now. So Novocaine is a film, of course, if you're familiar, that stars Jack Quaid and Amber Midthunder, most notably. It is directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. It is a, in this modern lineage of the modern, sort of take on John Wick action, very steady cam, very heightened in its action sensibilities, but also trying to be an action comedy first and foremost. It is filled to the brim with jokes, and I guess what I will say first, since comedy is a very subjective sort of medium in that way, it's kind of the jokes hit for you or they don't. I'll say that frankly, Novocaine, the jokes didn't hit too much for me, and unfortunately I found the action to be kind of subpar as well. I'll get into exactly what I mean there, but first, I think I want to talk about the things that are strongest in it. So, as I said, the action kind of is kind of hit or miss for me. I think when it's good, when it's really executing upon the premise of this movie, of course, being Jack Quaid has a disease or a disorder where he cannot feel pain, which is obviously lends itself well to crazy action sequences. But he is otherwise just a normal guy. So, when we are really executing upon that premise, when we are really taking the action to its absolute extremes and, maybe doing some light body horror stuff with stab wounds and getting hit by things, when we're really taking that to the extreme, it really works. There are two sequences in particular in this film that comes in just under 2 hours that I think execute upon that well. They're in the middle. There are effectively only 4 action sequences in this movie, and it's the 2 in the middle. If you've seen the film, you know the ones I'm talking about when I say the tattoo parlor, I think, is probably the best one, followed closely by the booby trap house, I think, is also a close second there. Again, lots of sequences there where Jack Quaid is being, sort of beaten up or having to maybe pretend that he can feel pain. I think that's maybe a great source of comedy in this film as well. And, getting him playing into his everyman sort of sensibility. That is where the comedy comes out of, is this real fish out of water thing. He's an average assistant manager at a bank, and he has to sort of delve into this underground world of bank robbers and hitmen and so on and so forth. That's where the best parts of this movie are, when he's playing off of that dynamic. I won't spoil any jokes in particular, but there are a couple in the film that I think worked for me in that regard. The thing that you really have to buy into, though, in this movie is, of course, Jack Quaid's characterization, which I think he's well enough at. He's sort of made his bones in recent years doing maybe sort of a horror villain sort of thing. He, some of his more notable roles would be in the Scream films, and then most recently in the movie Companion, where he's playing a sort of similar type of character, where he's a guy that you're not necessarily supposed to like. So he's going for a very different thing here, trying to be a relatable everyman. A kind of character who is in a bubble, is in a shell for a lot of his life, doesn't try too many things outside of his, realm of comfortability. And then he gets introduced to Amber Midthunder, who tries to, they go on a date, she tries to break him out of that comfortable realm, and their chemistry is okay. I wished it had been better. I wished I bought more into their relationship, because that is what motivates him to go on this whole adventure. She is kidnapped in a bank robbing, and he has to go save her, because she is the one person that really made him feel something, that made his life worth living. And I'll just say that I didn't necessarily feel that intrinsic, really compassionate chemistry between them. I wished I had, and their scenes together in Jack Quaid's apartment are just fine. But again, I think we maybe needed more time with it, but also at the same time, this movie takes a little bit of its time to get rolling into the action. So it's a hard line to walk there, I think. Just finding that right balance, and maybe it's just these two actors, these two performers didn't have a an interplay that really spoke to me. But after the inciting incident and everything, we also get a sort of a third character. I guess I should talk about, the third character, third lead in this film is Ray Nicholson is the main villain of the film. And I won't be spoiling anything about the movie here, but there is something to that character, a reveal that happens about halfway through. Ray Nicholson, I would say, is pointedly bad in this movie. As the villain, he's really going for a so unhinged that he's scary kind of thing. It's almost like he's kind of auditioning for maybe like a DCU Joker role here. We of course saw him most recently in Smile 2 from 2024, and he's going for something very different. He is very talkative. He is quipping a lot, and then he is turning that quickly on his head and shooting somebody because he's so crazy. Not a characterization that worked for me. Not something that I found especially funny or scary, and he's trying to do both, and neither really land. I think he is quite poor in this film. I just don't like that interpretation, that character that he's trying to do here. And then of course the last character I really want to talk about here is the guy in the chair, and I hope you all know what I'm referencing when I say that is Jacob Batalon is in this film as well. I think you do see him in the trailer, but he is an online gaming friend of Jack Quaid's character who is sort of pulled in by Jack Quaid to help him out, do some research, on the fly stuff, and try to figure things out for Jack Quaid as he tries to solve this mystery. And he also doesn't play well with the comedy either, I don't find. He falls into this trap of, insecure or poor comedy writing, where he ends up, and he is not in the film a whole lot, he's really in the back half is where he's most present, where he ends up, explaining the joke that just happened, and it's not too good. He's he tries to put the punctuation on any comedic set piece, and just let the comedy speak for itself. You don't need the character to come and be like, "Whoa, that was crazy! What a way to go! I can't believe this is so nuts! I can't believe you're dragging me into this. This plan will never work." He's that kind of character, and again, not something that really works unless you have a really adept actor doing something sort of special with it, and this one's just a bit too cut and dry, cookie cutter sort of characterization here. Outside of that, there's a funny cop duo that I think, funny cop duo, I think gets too much play. They even try to fold Betty Gabriel's character into having a mini arc of her own. I think it's far too much for this movie to do, especially as it tries to balance this out with action set pieces and everything, and tries to tell a compelling sort of twisty-turny narrative with some reveals in it. Not something that fully worked for me, is what I'm saying a lot of things in this movie. And yeah, I just don't know if there's a whole lot else for me to say. Ultimately, I found it to be pretty middling. Jack Quaid is charming. I will give him that. Amber Midthunder is charming. I don't know if they're necessarily charming together or if they didn't get enough time to play that out. But when he's doing his "aw shucks, I'm such a nervous guy, I can't have solid foods or anything like that because I'm afraid to bite my tongue off," he sells it. He sells it perfectly well. I just don't know if the movie is fully on his side. The look of the film is pretty bland as well. There's nothing really, especially creatively or directorially interesting about what they're doing here. Again, I kind of mentioned that it feels like a John Wick sort of clone in its action. The kills are good. The action is suitably brutal, but really, I was hoping for more. I was hoping for some more gnarly stuff. This is an R-rated film, of course. It has a premise that lends itself to doing some pretty nasty stuff, and the camera doesn't necessarily linger on things or show you the effects of, broken bones or charred hands or anything like that. It is pretty safe, playing it pretty safe in what it shows you in that regard, which also disappointed me quite a bit. So I don't know if there's a whole lot else I have to say about the film Novocaine. Found it pretty underwhelming. For a trailer that I thought, was somewhat promising, it had a little bit of a very irony poisoned kind of feel to it, but I thought the premise would be strong enough to carry it all the way through. But I just don't know if it executes on that premise well enough. Like I said, that tattoo parlor scene, the booby trap house are both good sequences. The scene that's in the trailer, a little bit of him having to, feign some pain that he's feeling. When you learn what like the background for that scene is, why he's doing that, is quite good as well. And again, a scene where Jack Quaid's comedic timing really excels. I think he's a good actor. I think he can do things like this. There's just not enough meat for him to really to do that in this film. So, yeah, for Novocaine, I'll still end up saying it's a pretty middling film. I'll go a 5.3 maybe. It's leaning towards, being below average, but I just think it has a couple of things, a bit of charm to it, a couple jokes that land that work. But when it tries to bring it home at the end with its final action set piece, you're like, wow, you can kind of feel the budget actively running out on this. It feels like it's all on a soundstage, even though the rest of this has been in a semi-convincing city set. I don't know. It doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth, I will say that, with that final action set piece, and then the sort of button at the end is fairly cute, I suppose, how it wraps up its story. But overall, not very good in my opinion. Had wished for more, especially with this premise. But of course, let me know what you think about the film Novocaine. I'd be excited to see what other people think about this, because I think this is a film that will definitely work for some. Don't take this as a hard and fast, it's mid all the way through, no ifs, ands, or buts. I think it will work for some people. So go ahead, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this review. We'll see you next time.